Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie, and this is my practice persuasion speech for our communications class. So, as many people know, smoking is a very unhealthy habit. I am currently in nursing school at Wayne State. I'm also going here at Schoolcraft, and I just had to make a presentation about the effects of smoking to a community mental health facility in Detroit. And I basically talked about how smoking affects their body, how it affects other people as well, and ways that they can quit. And I have learned so much about smoking and secondhand smoke in my nursing classes, as well as firsthand experience in the clinical setting in the hospitals with patients who have been put in the hospital due to diseases secondary to smoking. So I have learned an absolute ton about smoking, and I've had to talk to many other people about why we should quit. So today I'm going to be talking about why we should ban public smoking. So cigarette companies now have to put the harmful effects of smoking on these labels to inform the public that they're bad for them. So many people know that smoking is super bad for you. However, not as many people know about secondhand smoke and the consequences that are associated with it, as well as how public smoking can potentially harm other people involuntarily. And some people who smoke do not want to ban public smoking because they feel that they should have the freedom to smoke and in public and do other habits because they feel like people who do other habits like drinking alcohol, which is harmful to the body too, that's perfectly fine to do it in public, but smoking's not. So they might feel like it's not exactly fair. However, to that argument, drinking alcohol, that person is only damaging their own body. Whereas smoking, that person is damaging them as well as anybody else who inhales that smoke. So there are many reasons to ban public smoking, and the first and most important reason to do it is because of secondhand smoking. So secondhand smoking is harmful and it is also involuntary. So the people who breathe in this smoke probably never wanted to, and they did it completely involuntary and it was passive, and they just did it because they were exposed to this smoke. They did not choose to smoke the cigarette, they just happened to be by somebody who was smoking a cigarette. So they're being exposed to 7,000 chemicals, and 70 or more of which can cause cancer, and they're being exposed to these chemicals without really ever wanting to be. So smoking publicly is not only harming the smoker, but it's harming the passerby who never really wanted to inhale it in the first place. So all of these chemicals in these cigarettes can lead to a bunch of different kinds of cancer, lung cancer being the primary type, as well as lung infections and increasing your risk of a myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack, as well as a stroke or any other cerebrovascular diseases. One of the important things to keep in mind about secondhand smoke that I'm going to stress again is that it is very involuntary. People do not inhale it because they want to. There have been many times where I know that I have experienced this as well as other people, where you're walking on campus or to a store or something and you walk by somebody who smokes and you inhale a huge whiff of their smoke, and it's like, that was unpleasant. I also didn't want to do that. So it's an unpleasant experience for the person who's walking by, and it's not exactly fair for that person to breathe in that harmful smoke when they didn't want to in the first place. I know that there are many places in the country so far who have banned smoking completely, like Wayne State, for example, my nursing school. They have banned smoking on the campus completely. So you cannot smoke on Wayne State's campus. You also cannot smoke in restaurants anymore. One of the reasons for that is because there's this lingering smokiness, and it damages the restaurant itself as well as the customers inside of the restaurant, and it leaves this really like this stale, smoky stench. Anyway, so exposing other people to the harmful effects of your smoking is not fair, and that is the most important reason to ban public smoking. Another reason to ban it, which is not as important but still important, is that smoking causes littering. Many people will smoke, and you can't just throw the butt of a cigarette in a normal trash can because it's hot and it's probably still on fire. So it can cause the trash can and the trash to catch on fire, which becomes a public hazard and a safety hazard. So many people will just throw the cigarette butts out the car window, on the street, in the grass, on the sidewalk, wherever. And you see them everywhere. There are cigarette butts everywhere. And this causes a bit of a littering problem. And for people who really care about taking care of the environment and making sure that everywhere you go is clean, it is frustrating to see cigarette butts on the ground. So there are many designated cigarette areas where you can throw it out, but since you're publicly smoking, you might be walking down the street or driving in your car and there's no place to throw it out, so you throw it on the ground. So a reason to ban public smoking is because of this littering, so people would only be able to smoke in their home or wherever, and they will have a place to throw away their cigarettes, and this will greatly reduce the amount of littering for that bit of cigarette smoking. So those are just a few reasons as to why we should ban cigarette smoking. People might argue that they should be allowed to have the freedom to smoke because they want to, and other people have the freedom to do other unhealthy habits. However, the problem with that is those unhealthy habits such as obesity or drinking alcohol are only hurting the person who's doing it to themselves, whereas smoking is hurting the people who are walking by. So we should ban public smoking in order to keep the rest of the people safe who are not smoking, and in order to reduce the amount of littering going on. That is just part of my speech, and I will modify it by the time that I turn it in, so thank you.